Colorado. And we decided to be in a long-distance relationship.
Wait, you met Lindsay on this 3-mile wide island that's in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
Okay, so you're bound to end up together, I'm just going to say.
She's the most beautiful, sweetest woman on the island. I said, that's exactly who I am.
How many people were on the island?
There's about 500. Yeah.
So the odds are good about being the best looking. Just saying.
She really is a special soul. Now, we met halfway in Utah because there's not much to do in Utah, so we decided we would rent an ATV.
A what?
Well, I had only an ATV, all-terrain vehicle, a four-wheeler.
Oh, like an ATV. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Just didn't hear you
I
correctly.
had only been on an ATV 2 other times.
They're
and
fun.
I had just gotten, yeah, they're really fun, right? And what makes the ATV so fun? The sound, the speed.
It's on 4 wheels. It appears hard to flip. You can jump
Ooh,
hills.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Appears hard to flip. I've ridden them, and it didn't turn out pretty. And my brother ended up breaking his leg. So just saying.
Wow.
I
think I can relate a little bit. I remember being on the ATV with Lindsay. She was on the back, and I was driving. And remember, I had liked the excitement. I was doing drug dealing as a teenager. I was in the war. I've always liked this adrenaline stuff.
Adrenaline rushy, junkie.
Exactly. Which can lead to what? High-risk behavior. So
yes.
A lot of our first responders and military, right?
Yes.
This is some of the common themes. Now, back to the ATV. I remember her on the back, and I'm driving, and I remember seeing 52 miles per hour on the speedometer. The problem was I had to maneuver a curve, and it was loose gravel down below. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make the turn in time, and I yelled, jump, to land onto the trail. The problem was the ATV threw me over the handlebars, and Lindsay held on to the back rack, holding on to the ATV. The ATV ends up crushing her. I end up rolling down the mountain, and I remember making a sound, and that was my helmet busting open on a boulder, and I woke up choking water in a stream. And
Lindsay
I had to crawl to her.
Didn't survive?
She survived.
Oh.
She did survive. She had 12 broken bones, a collapsed lung, and a punctured kidney.
Jeez.
And she ended up getting flight for life, and she was 30 minutes from not making it, and she did survive. Well, that was PTSD, because after that, I was so afraid of any kind of vehicle, even cars. On driving on the freeway, I was panicked and all this kind of stuff. And I do want to just take the quick time to share that this happened in 2009, and 3 years ago, I was on a cruise. So Lindsay and I did break up. Now, the cool thing about Lindsay was that she actually gave me an incredible gift. Lindsay was the reason I moved to Colorado, and she's the reason I got into pet dog training, because I moved to Colorado to take care of Lindsay. And I ended up having a very successful pet dog training company, so just naughty dogs that maybe your neighbor has that I would help. And
yeah, you told me you could come train mine in 3 days. You made close to $1 million in 2 years.
Exactly.
You're successful. You sound like you're a master of your work there.
Yeah, once you crack the code and you know kind of the principles, it's interesting how, honestly, dog training is really just about 4 main things. And if we apply these 4 main principles with our dogs, everyone will see results. It's guaranteed. And so I'm happy to share that maybe on another call or another time. And so I moved to Colorado to take care of Lindsay, and we ended up breaking up 9 months later. However, again, she gave me that gift of going there to take care of her, and resulted in a really successful dog training company. But I do want to take a quick pause to honor Lindsay, because 3 years ago, I got a call that she died of an ATV accident.
Another one?
And yes. And the interesting part was when the police called her parents, they said, we need you to identify the body. The mom was like, there's no way. Our daughter's afraid of ATV.
Bless her heart. She got back on the horse, technically.
She did.
She didn't let it stop her from doing something she loved, but
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that you lost your friend.
Yeah, we lost someone really special. She's really cool. She was on American Idol, a really talented person. At the same time, I feel like it's very important for all of us to really pay attention to the signs when they're being given to us. And so I was afraid of ATVs, but
Agreed.
I don't like...
Man, right
this
there.
Is part of
Pay attention to the signs.
Evolution, exactly. Part of my evolution, though, has been to not avoid the things I'm afraid of. So I was afraid of ATVs. So I decided to buy a motorcycle, and it sat in my garage for 4 years. I didn't have the courage to ride it. And then one day I decided to take lessons, and I drove the motorcycle for 6 months, and I wasn't afraid of it, and then I sold it.
You didn't get in an accident? So we're talking about these 5 near-death experiences. I'm assuming the ATV is one of them.
Yeah, and then so now let's get into some of those. Now, when I was at the peak of dog training, I had a huge facility. I had commercials on TV, and I was booked about a month out. If you wanted to work with me, I was booked a month out, high demand. Well, I wasn't taking care of myself. In fact, I was silencing the voice of PTSD by being a workaholic. I was staying busy.
That happens. I can totally relate. A lot of people, instead of handling grief and loss or handling trauma, they get into something. And if it's not to escape with drugs or alcohol, sometimes work is just another vice that can be an escape as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope that those listening can really chew on that and see if it applies. And if so, then we have the awareness. Now we have the potential to do something about it. Well, because I wasn't taking care of myself, and because I never let go of the mantra of I am dead, I ended up at the age of 30, I'm 38 now, I ended up having stage 3 colon cancer. And I ended up going under the knife within 24 hours to remove a mass.
Yeah, colon cancer is not easy to beat. It's kind of like up there with prostate cancer, and not many people survive. How are you doing?
Right. And so, again, that was in 2011. I'm happy to report now that I'm totally cancer-free. I do appreciate you asking.
Thank you.
And I've created a...
Just for the listeners, I'm learning this. When I do pre-interviews, I'm like, don't tell me the story I want to find out on the air with everyone else. So I'm finding this out with you guys at the same time. When you said I used to cry when I told this story, I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I'm going to cry on air. I just see it coming.
And I got to share, like, those people are listening right now have gone through some of the same things that I've gone through. And so I understand.
Not all at once, though.
That's right. Well, it's going to get worse. So hold on. Don't go anywhere. It's still going to get worse.
Don't go anywhere. It gets worse, not better. Like, hey, it gets worse. You really want to hear this? Why do we want to stop and watch the bad stuff and hear the bad stuff? Why is that human nature? Just saying. Don't even answer that question.
Drama stuff.
We slow down for accidents to see, oh, man, that someone died there or whatever.
Exactly.
But not whatever, just human beings, whatever. Go on, I'm sorry.
And so if the cancer wasn't bad enough at the age of 30, this was in May. On the 4th of July, that was just a couple months later, a day that I would usually go and hide in the Colorado mountains and avoid the fireworks. Now I'm specifically speaking to our combat vets. I chose not to go to the mountains and had a client's dog at our house doing a board and train. Well, I had just gone through my first round of chemo 4 days prior, and I felt really horrible in the middle of the night. My body felt like jello. I started to sweat. And I told my ex-wife, she was girlfriend at the time, I was like, hey, call the ER and ask them what's up with this and am I okay or whatever. Well, to make a long story short, I ended up having a widowmaker heart attack on the 4th of July. And no one knows how it happened. Did it happen because of PTSD and my anxiousness on the 4th of July? Because the fireworks remind us of war, right? The sounds and even the sight sometimes. Well, they call it a widowmaker because it attacks the left anterior, which people are not supposed to survive that kind of heart attack.
Makes people a widow. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that was very tough.
So you're a dog trainer, but you live the life of a cat. Just saying.
Exactly. In my first TEDx talk, it's
9 lives.
Exactly. In the first TEDx talk titled Overcoming PTSD Using Dog Training Techniques, I use that line where I say, although I'm a dog trainer, I'm more like a cat in that I have 9 lives, and I talk about
You better hope you have 9 lives because you've done with 5. You've gotten through some tough times for sure.
Well, it gets tougher because May was the cancer. July was the heart attack. I went back to work. I needed my drugs. I needed that work. A month after the heart attack, I went back to work.
And that stress and the workaholic probably, being a workaholic probably led to a lot of heart problems and the stress. Stress and the not taking self-care. It's a silent killer.
Wow, self-care is definitely one of the secrets that I share to transform one's life. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
agreed.
I have, making all this money. I had so much money that my bookkeeper was like, "You got to spend money." I was like, "I can't. Like, I'm too busy. I don't have time." She's like, "Buy a house." Okay, I bought a house. Well, that's all great. At the same time, I wasn't taking care of myself. And when we don't take care of ourselves, sometimes we don't always act how we really want to show up in the world.
Right.
And this is evident as what's about to happen next. Because, again, I had commercials on TV, was making a lot of money, very, very in high demand, booked a month out. Well, I went back to work a month after the heart attack, and that was foolish because I didn't take care of myself. I didn't allow myself to heal. And what happened next changed the trajectory of my life forever. And that is my dog, Montage. She's a Belgian Malinois. That's the kind of dog we use for military and police work.
It was like a German Shepherd type of dog, or?
Yeah, like a Shepherd, but crazier, more hyper.
Okay.
Yeah. She had a little sore on her paw, and she kept licking it. And my logic was that the little sore will not heal. It has to dry. So I put a muzzle on her. But when I put the muzzle on her, she came after me, wanted me to take it off, not to attack me. Well, because of all the health stuff that I went through, because I never addressed PTSD, I overreacted, and I panicked. I acted out of fear. And sometimes fear can result in aggression. And I know a lot
not
of
just sometimes. That's you push anybody back into a corner, and they act out in a way that they never would, because nobody likes to feel helpless.
Exactly. Well, when
How did
she
you
came after
overreact?
me, I tossed her numerous times, and I even struck her with two closed fists. Remember, I'm like this big-time dog trainer.
Dog whisperer.
And
beating the crap out of your dog.
Well, to be fair, she didn't sustain any injuries. And
she had a muzzle on. You were like one up on her, though. Thank goodness the muzzle was on her for your sake.
Yeah. Well, so the muzzle was just so that she wouldn't lick the sore.
Right.
And so, anyways, what ends up happening is I had security cameras in my facility. My office manager turns me in for animal cruelty, and I hire an attorney, and the attorney watched the video, and she's like, "Oh, this isn't bad." She's like, "You'll never go to jail for this. Don't worry. You'll be fine." But the media got a hold of the story, and I was on the front page of the newspaper the next day, and I was on the news, and I lost my dogs. I lost the business. I went to jail, and I hid for 5 years. I didn't even leave the house. I did nothing with my life.
What was on the paper? That dog trainer seen abusing his animals?
Exactly, yep.
Pretty much.
And I honestly have never read any of the articles. I never read any of it. My ex-wife, she was a girlfriend at the time, she would collect the newspapers from the neighbors so they wouldn't see me on the front page. That was like day after day while that was going on. And I was so ashamed and so upset. And again, honestly, I probably would have still been feeling that way if this next thing didn't happen. So fast forward a few years, and I ended up waking up one morning and feeling really weak, and I felt like I was about to pass out. And I was so certain that I was about to pass out that I was like, well, I'm passing out or I'm passing out to die. I didn't know what it was. Now, I've never had a panic attack before, so this is very, this is
scary.
Like, I'm not dramatic.
No,
right?
no.
That's not me. And I'm feeling so weak that I decide I need to call 911, and I'm mumbling while I'm talking to 911 on the phone. And my head wants to just lay down onto the ground. My head's about to hit the ground. And then all of a sudden, when I'm like about to give up on life, I have this realization that I didn't do everything that I wanted to do, that I had wasted the past 5 years, that I still have more to give. And so at this point, I reach out to a higher power, and I beg for another chance at life. I admit that I had taken life for granted. I admitted that I had more to give. And I promised that if I was